South Northam can definitely hear us. We got a great program for you. We got a lot of great speakers, so we're just going to run through it now. Thank you all for coming. We're sending a powerful message to Dominion Energy and to the politicians that back them that enough is enough. These pipelines must be stopped. We need to move to clean energy in Virginia. I'd like to introduce somebody who's going to read a statement from Jennifer Carroll Foy. She's a heroic new delegate, one of the new delegates we mentioned earlier, who got elected in 2017 on a pledge of not taking a penny from Dominion Energy. And she can't be here today. She's an attorney. She's actually in the middle of a trial up in Northern Virginia, but she sent a statement of support. And we have Harrison from the Chesapeake Climate Action Network who's going to read Representative Foy's, Delegate Foy's statement. So where's Harrison? There you go.
What are you doing today? We're ready to stop the pipeline? All right, well, my name's Harrison Wallace. I'm the Virginia Director for the Chesapeake Climate Action Network, and I'm really honored to be able to read a statement from a inspiring and powerful delegate, Jennifer Carroll Foy. So here's what she had to say to you all today. We are here to stand up to the big polluters who have outsized influence in our political process. We are here to stand and say that we will not tolerate coal ash or pipeline poisoning of our water. We are not here to say that we will not tolerate a General Assembly that puts profits over people, and we certainly will not tolerate the authorities telling Red, a woman whose land has been her family for over 400 years, that she is not allowed to protest on her own property. So many of you have followed my story over the last year as a new mother to identical twin sons, Alex and Xander, and I can tell you how personal it is to protect the environment. Preserving our environment and combating climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time. Because when I look at Alex and Xander's faces, I need to be able to tell them that I did everything I could to leave them in the best world that we can. As mothers, we will do anything and everything to ensure that our children are safe. I understand this sense of urgency. Clean water could not be more personal to me. I live in Woodbridge, less than 5 miles from the Possum Point coal ash site, where 4 million gallons of toxic coal ash sit. There are so many families like mine who live in this area. No mother or father should ever need to think twice before turning on the faucet to give their kids a glass of water. And let me tell you, as long as I'm a delegate, as long as we all keep fighting, Possum Point will not become the new Detroit. More than ever, we must fight to protect our water, air, land at the state level. We have seen more enthusiasm about the environment over the last year than ever before. Last session, we stood up to powerful polluters. Just 2 weeks ago, a bipartisan group of delegates and senators stood with Red and spoke out against these pipelines. So today, it's more important than ever to continue this fight and not get disheartened. The momentum is on our side. We look into our kids' faces years from now. We need to be able to tell them that we did everything we could to protect this earth. Thank you guys so much.
Statement of support coming from a very special person, a friend of mine actually, Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, who represents the 31st District up in Northern Virginia. Delegate Guzman is another one of those women who was elected in 2017, again on a pledge of not taking 1 penny from Dominion Energy. And I just want to say this about Delegate Guzman. She's my sister in the labor movement. I spent 35 years in the labor movement, most recently 21 years with the United Mine Workers of America. Elizabeth is a proud government worker, a proud union representative, ran with a lot of labor support. She understands, and I understand, the complexity of that issue and the phony promise of jobs for these pipelines. And I must tell you, when she ran for office last year, she wasn't quite there. She wasn't quite there on the issue of pipelines, but she's come out strong now, and she's going to have a strong statement to give to all of you. So to read that, she's unable to make it. She's working today, but she sends her support. She sends her love. And Nina Mizell, who's an activist here in Richmond, is going to read Delegate Guzman's statement. Nina?
To my brothers and sisters in the continued struggle for our environment, I want you to know that you are not alone. The majority of legislators who were elected in November of 2017 showcase a new vision for our democracy here in Virginia. A democracy that will voice the concerns of the 99% and not the voice of the 1% that includes fossil fuel corporations. Many of my fellow freshmen, including myself, will not bow down to fossil fuel corporations who seek to risk the quality of the water we drink and the land we live on. As a mother, I have a duty to protect the earth so my children and grandchildren have the ability to enjoy nature as I do now. Unfortunately, that is at risk today. I once again urge our governor to require the highest environmental standards and direct the DEQ to do a comprehensive stream-by-stream analysis of the MVP and ACP pipelines. I share the concerns of landowners, environmental scientists, and many others who say these huge 42-inch diameter pressurized gas pipelines cannot be built safely in the mountains of Southwest Virginia without forever destroying the beauty and natural resources, especially water, of that region. At a minimum, before my further work is allowed on these projects, we must make sure every stream and every piece of land is fully protected. I will not risk our combined futures for the transportation of fossil fuels. Dear Governor, please listen to our constituents who see this as a threat to our Commonwealth, and please remember that water is life, and we should not be begging for clean water. I want to thank Red Terry and her daughter Minor and all of those who stand fast along the lines of the MVP. You were able to bring the issue of social and environmental justice to the forefront of national news, and on behalf of my children, I am extremely thankful for that. 20 years from now, I don't want my children to tell me that we had the means to take action and we didn't do anything. This is just the beginning, and I want you to know that I will stand shoulder to shoulder with you as this fight continues. Sincerely, Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, 31st District, Freshman Class President.
Water is life! 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 Water is life!
Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Delegate Guzman. I forgot to mention, I should add, that Delegate Guzman is not only the president of the freshman class selected by her peers, but when 45 gave his State of the Union address, Delegate Guzman was selected to give the response to the State of the Union address in Spanish. So she's a rising young leader. She's with us. She stands with Red. She stands with Minor. She stands with Nutty. She stands with stream-by-stream analysis, and she stands against the pipeline. So let's have a big round of applause for Delegate Guzman. So I told you women are leading this struggle, and you can see by all the speakers we've had, but we do have one man with us here right now. So I'd like to introduce him, a very special guest. The Sierra Club has been helping to lead this fight for many, many years, and we are so appreciative that they are here today. So I'd like to introduce to you Bob Shippey.
Thank you. I've never been so happy to be the token white male in the group. So I help lead the Sierra Club's legislative and political work here in Virginia, and it's a great day. We've got wonderful legislative leaders we've already heard from, and one of our titans of support, Sam Rasool, a little bit later in the program. We'll hear from affected citizens about how these pipelines are a clear and present danger to our water, our land, and our air. We can talk about the environmental justice issues that are just completely over many years affecting populations of color in a disproportionate way. Any one of these reasons make you and I oppose these pipelines. But I've been asked to focus on economic reasons, which is what the folks over there care about. What do they care about?
Money.
Money. Stock price, returns on investment. And hey, I spent a 30-year career in financial services. I get capitalism. I'm down with it. It's a wonderful system of an economy like the United States, but it is flawed. And one of the biggest flaws. I just lost part of the crowd. Sorry. It's flawed, and one of the biggest flaws is that it's notoriously focused on short-term gains and not on the long-term future of our country. And I feel like this is something that shareholders really need to be thinking about. Hopefully, there's some questions being asked across the street about this. I'm not going to begrudge them their right to have a return on their investment, but I will tell Dominion shareholders and any other decision makers that are listening that even when you view these projects on a purely financial basis, any future investment in fossil fuels is ill-advised.
Right.
What do you need to sell a product? First off, demand, right? Well, the demand for energy is flat, and it's actually starting to decline, and expected to do that in the future years. So without any real customers, Dominion had to create a corporate structure where they would sell this gas to themselves and pretend that there was demand for it. And sadly, the State Corporation Commission has gone along with this fantasy so far. And unfortunately, in the plan that Dominion just released, they're using these kind of manipulated forecasts to justify 8 new fossil fuel plants in addition to the pipelines over the next 15 years. And by 2033, they're forecasting only 9% renewable energy in Virginia. This is exactly the wrong direction to be going in. We know that we need to ramp up to at least 30% renewables by 2030. And many cities and countries are committing to this kind of target on their way to a fossil fuel-free world by 2050. So Virginia needs to get there as well, and we know this. And unfortunately, what that means is that these infrastructure projects that are being built now are going to have to be decommissioned long before their useful lives are over. That will saddle ratepayers with a massive bill. And as many of you know, Virginia's electric bills are already 10th in the country, 10th highest, and Dominion wants us to keep paying those rates versus the plummeting costs of wind and solar power across the country, where we are now seeing 5 cents per kilowatt hour on some of these new generations versus the 10 to 12 cents that we're paying here in Virginia. So in terms of ratepayers, the Dominion strategy is terrible. On the broader economy, it's well documented that clean energy jobs far outstrip any of the fossil fuel job creation. We already have more solar jobs in Virginia than coal or gas. And many large companies, yes, many large companies like Amazon and Facebook won't even locate in a state where they don't feature renewable energy. But Dominion would rather spend $6.5 billion on the Atlantic Coast Pipeline because they make a guaranteed return on that construction. 14%. And don't get me started on the folly of continuing to extend the life of nuclear plants well beyond their recommended decommission dates. This is terrible both financially and for public safety reasons. So in short, Dominion's energy policy is horrible for our economy as well. Lastly, back to our friends in the shareholder meeting over there. As I said a moment ago, capitalism and stock markets are notoriously short-sighted, but it could be that the market is starting to see the risks of Dominion's strategy. Dominion stock is down 25% just in the past 5 months. And this is in a market where most of the rest of the stocks are doing pretty well. And so 25% hit in 5 months is a shot to take, and I hope there's some serious questions being asked across the street, because it looks like Dominion's strategy is also bad for shareholders. So I'm glad that all of you are here for this event. It's incredibly important that we keep spreading the word far and wide that we are watching. We're going to call out the bad actors like Dominion, and that fossil fuels are bad business, and it's time for Dominion to drop the act.
Defensible, what Dominion Energy is doing. Pastor Paul's been telling us about this for many years. Dominion Energy's business model is in fact environmental racism. That's their business model, and the best example of that is what they're proposing to do with a compressor station in Union Hill in Buckingham County. So we're going to hear a little bit more about this. I'd like to introduce Mark Hoggard. He's with Virginia Interfaith Power and Light to talk to us a little bit about the moral and the religious imperative of stopping Dominion Energy in its tracks.
In his groundbreaking encyclical Laudato Si, Pope Francis begins, Laudato Si, mi signori, praise be to you, my Lord. In the words of this beautiful canticle, St. Francis of Assisi reminds us that our common home is like a sister with whom we share our life, and a beautiful mother who opens her arms to embrace us. In the introduction to the letter, Pope Francis notes that he writes the letter as a way to enter into dialogue with not only Roman Catholics, but with all people about our common home. Pope Francis has called the destruction of nature a modern sin, and that unbridled consumerism is destroying our planet, and we are stewards, not masters of the earth. As a Catholic Christian, a resident of our common home, and more specifically a lifelong Virginian, I have to wonder if Pope Francis had Dominion Energy in mind when he penned these words about unbridled consumerism. Dominion Energy continues their strategy of misleading the public, claiming they are moving towards clean, renewable energy, while according to a Daily Press article last week, it plans to build at least 8 new natural gas-fired plants during the next 5 years. Let's call this natural gas what it is. Natural gas is, in fact, fracked gas, literally squeezed out of rock by injecting high-pressure poison chemicals into the earth. Fracked gas is not clean energy.
Unnatural gas!
Like coal, fracked gas is a finite fossil fuel, and Dominion Energy is lying when it consistently links in fracked gas with solar and wind energy. We call that greenwashing. Dominion has invested billions into a boondoggle of new pipelines across the Commonwealth to carry this fracked gas to new power plants. We are alone among all neighboring states in having no operating wind farms. Distributed generation like rooftop solar also remains a weak spot. One source ranks Virginia as number 37 among states in percent of renewable energy production, even as customer interest continues to grow. In the meantime, the sun shines and the wind blows, with a few meager solar panels and hopes of a couple of turbines to capture those infinite resources. Where is our stewardship of the earth? I would propose that our stewardship might be lost in our profit margin. Pope Francis notes that economic powers continue to justify the current global system, where priority tends to be given to speculation and the pursuit of financial gain, which fail to take into account the context, let alone the effects on human dignity and the natural environment. Are you listening, Dominion shareholders? I stand before you as a Christian, realizing that some of us are Muslim, some Buddhist, some Jewish or other faith, and some are non-believers. But all of us, in one way or another, are people of faith. And as Pope Francis reminds us, faith allows us to interpret the meaning and the mysterious beauty of what is unfolding. We are free to apply our intelligence towards things evolving positively or towards adding new ills, new causes of suffering, and real setbacks. This is what makes for the excitement and drama of human history, in which freedom, growth, salvation, and love can blossom, or leads toward decadence and mutual destruction. As people of faith, let our voices be heard. Let us tell Dominion investors that the earth cries out for justice, and all of our actions matter. Let us use our valuable resources of time, talent, and treasure to fulfill our duty of caring for nature, and at the same time protect humanity from self-destruction. Thank you.
We will win. Do you think we're going to win? Are we going to stop these pipelines? Are we going to win? You know, I'm here. I have the pleasure of being
able to introduce a really awesome person, Miss Red and her daughter Minor. But let's clear up a few facts. Can Virginia stop these pipelines? Oh, yeah! What are they saying? They're saying some crazy things like, oh, Virginia can't, we don't have the authority. We've heard those lines before.
I call BS.
Did one state just recently stop their pipeline? Yeah! Who was that? New York! I don't say this often, but I love New York. We love New York. They proved that, in fact, we could exercise our rights under Section 401 of the Clean Water Act to do our what? To protect our water.
Yeah.
And you know what? The pipeline companies said, we don't like that ruling. We're going to appeal to the Supreme Court. And you know what the Supreme Court said?
You're wrong.
They said, no way.
Screw you, pipeline company.
So what does that mean? That means there's clear precedent here. Virginia can stop these pipelines. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
You know, it's difficult sometimes for politicians like me to make our political calculations, as we often do. But, you know, I got elected. I was one of those kind of, you know, you have to imagine this child of immigrants, and the Bible Belt of Virginia was a little bit different path for me. So I really had to use a couple of different principles, and one principle that I used is just make sure you're always on the right side of history. And we know that this struggle is difficult. We know it's uphill, but we know standing here together that we are on the right side of history.
Yep.
We need to keep that in mind, and we need to make that appeal to all of our brothers and sisters around Virginia and let them know there's a big struggle here. And one reason why I'm personally involved is because it's not just a few random ornery country folks up on some mountain. So where'd she go? Oh, there she is. What she's protecting, the South Fork of the Roanoke River and the tributaries that attach to the Roanoke River are crossed by this pipeline, the Mountain Valley Pipeline, over 100 times. That's my personal drinking water in the Roanoke Valley, as well as hundreds of thousands of people who are going to be impacted. And we know that there are over 1,100 water bodies that are going to be impacted by both of these pipelines. So we have a duty. You know what we have a duty to do? Protect our water, and to hashtag stand with red. Let's do it. Stand with red. Stand with red. Stand with red.
I'm Minor. I was at tree sit number 2, or for everybody that was there, Camp Kick-Ass. And I am here to speak from the heart, and my heart is broken. We came down from our trees on Saturday, and on Sunday, they cut everything down that we've been protecting. Everything from my mother's sit, in between those forested wetlands, to my sit. And now I am here to talk to you and tell you we will not put these pipelines in the ground. They will not go in. And now, the face of the revolution, I see all these signs out here and these shirts with Stand With Red, and here she is.
Who would have thought that some old lady up in a tree would do this? All I did was lay around like a diva. I did complain about not having ice for my tea. Then it was too late to complain about not having the tea. But Sam was right about the women being strong, but I want to draw your attention for just 1 second to my son, who also had a tree set. And he was a brave man ready to go into the tree. They did come through and move the boundaries and made his tree not important. But my son stayed with my daughter out in that cold and rain and snow the whole time she was in the tree. I came down, well, actually when I was still up there, people started going, oh, look, Red, we made a shirt. And I was like, y'all guys are nuts. Yeah, and then I'm seeing posters, and I'm like, I'm looking down from his tree going, really? That's the best picture we've got? You can see my wrinkles.
Sorry.
This has been a completely overwhelming response to a crazy tree hugger in the tree, just trying to protect our oaks and our property and our water. But if that's what it took to get everybody going, I really do thank y'all. I really do. Thank you. Let's just stop this. I mean, we've been poisoning our water. We've let them poison our water in so many states for so long. And I keep asking the same question. Why have they been allowed to poison the water for so long and nobody has stopped it? Why, and all the politicians know this, why are they still allowed to poison people's drinking water? And I'm waiting for someone, anyone, to give me an answer. So let's stop these before they destroy everybody's water.
I couldn't spend 34 minutes in a tree, okay? But they have given a gift to us. They have brought this pipeline struggle to a level that has not been achieved over 4 years. They've done more in 4 weeks than all of us have been able to do in 4 years. So since they've given to us, it's time for us to give back to them. So here's what we're going to do. Who in the crowd, I want a show of hands, has a phone in your pocket? I know you have one.
I have two.
And you have two. There you go. So here's what we're going to do. I want you all to take out your phones. I want you to take a picture of this demonstration, take a picture of yourself, take a picture of this pipeline, take a picture of Red, take a picture of you with Red, take a picture with Delegate Rasool, take any kind of picture you want. Take more than one picture, okay? And then when you're done taking that picture, I want you to do 2 things for Red and for Minor. Number 1, post it on Facebook and share it with all your friends. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay. And number 2, if you have a Twitter account, who has a Twitter account? Okay. I want you all to post those pictures on your Twitter feed. I want you to use the hashtag #StandWithRed. Okay. And then when you're done with that, and I'm going to add a third ask, because there's always another ask when people say yes. The third ask is, I want you to retweet everything you can find under hashtag #StandWithRed. We need to amplify this message. We've only just begun. They're just working on the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Dominion has no idea what they are up against.
That's right.
So can you all do that for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it. The struggle continues. The Terry's tour continues. We're going to be up in Northern Virginia today. They're going to be in Waynesboro tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the week after that, and the month after that, until these pipelines are stopped. Thank you all. Northam. Okay, so back in February of 2017, when he was running for governor, he went to a Democratic Party meeting in Charlottesville, and he was asked, Dr. Northam, why aren't you listening to these landowners who are having their land taken from them by the Atlantic Coast and Mountain Valley Pipelines? Why won't you meet with them? Why won't you talk to them? And he says, you know what? I'm an environmentalist. My wife Pam is an environmentalist. We just love the environment. So here's what we're going to do, and I know he said it because it's on tape. And what Dr. Northam said was, we're going to come down, me and Pam, and we're going to have focus groups, is what he called them, so we can hear the concerns of the landowners, so we can understand what all this nonsense is about. He didn't use the word nonsense, but that was probably what was in his head. So he promised those focus groups. Can I get an estimate from anybody, the approximate number of focus groups that Dr. Northam has held since he made that campaign? Northam. Okay. So back in February of 2017, when he was running for governor, he went to a Democratic Party meeting in Charlottesville, and he was asked, Dr. Northam, why aren't you listening to these landowners who are having their land taken from them by the Atlantic Coast and Mountain Valley pipelines? Why won't you meet with them? Why won't you talk to them? And he says, you know what? I'm an environmentalist. My wife Pam is an environmentalist. We just love the environment. So here's what we're going to do, and I know he said it because it's on tape. And what Dr. Northam said was, we're going to come down, me and Pam, and we're going to have focus groups, is what he called them, so we can hear the concerns of the landowners, so we can understand what all this nonsense is about. He didn't use the word nonsense, but that was probably what was in his head. So he promised those focus groups. Can I get an estimate from anybody, the approximate number of focus groups that Dr. Northam has held since he made that campaign promise? You're all mathematicians. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, and this is the fourth act. Dr. Northam, if you're listening, and if you're not listening, we're going to make you listen. You need to meet with Red Terry. You need to meet with Minor Terry. I can tell you this, they'll give you one hell of a focus group. So when you all get on Facebook, when you all get on Twitter, I want you to do hashtag Stand With Red, and I want you to tweet to Governor Northam, that's hashtag Governor VA or hashtag Ralph Northam, and say, how about those focus groups? We got a focus group for you. We want you to meet with Red Terry and Minor Terry right away. Keep your promise, Ralph. Thank you very much. You're all mathematicians. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, and this is the fourth act. Dr. Northam, if you're listening, and if you're not listening, we're going to make you listen. You need to meet with Red Terry. You need to meet with Minor Terry. I can tell you this, they'll give you one hell of a focus group. So when you all get on Facebook, when you all get on Twitter, I want you to do hashtag Stand With Red, and I want you to tweet to Governor Northam, that's hashtag Governor VA or hashtag Ralph Northam, and say, how about those focus groups? We got a focus group for you. We want you to meet with Red Terry and Minor Terry right away. Keep your promise, Ralph. Thank you very much.